Game week 13 is unlucky for some, but let's face it can't get worse than game week 12. We're back with another Premier League Predictor, the series where I take on you guys in predicting the Premier League scores. Remember, if you want to be involved, all you've got to do is comment your score predictions before the first game week game kicks off this weekend. First up, here are my game week 12 results, and it's safe to say I performed pretty badly. In fact, I near enough got all of them wrong, bar 3. I've only come out with 3 points, puts my season total on 71. I got the Liverpool result right, the Newcastle result right, and the Leicester result right. But all in all, not brilliant. Yeah, that's probably the worst week I've had in Premier League Predictor, actually. Let's see how you guys got on with our subscribers' result table. Someone who actually had a decent week last week is Steiben. Managed to get 13 points with 2 scores correct and 3 results. That puts him at top of our Game Week 12 subscriber results table, so congratulations to him. Marbles and More got 9 points, 1 score, 4 results. Wilf got 7 points, 1 score, 2 results. And then you can see the rest of us absolute wasters down at the bottom there who didn't quite get last week correct. Remember, if you want to be involved, get your comments in now, and it has to be done before 12:30 because that's when Liverpool and Nottingham Forest kick off on Saturday. So make sure you've got it done before then. And yeah, get your notifications on because people seem to be missing the deadline and missing out on key points. As you can see, this week has some tasty fixtures, including Tottenham versus Newcastle, which I think is going to be much closer than people expect. Chelsea versus Man United as well. This is a good game week. Before I do my predictions, I just want to ask you guys, can you please like the video? The more likes this gets, the more likely that YouTube are going to push it out to new people and we'll get more people in the community competing against each other in this Premier League Predictor game. So please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It would be much appreciated. First up, arguably the easiest point that you can get this game week is Liverpool away at Forest. There's surely no chance Forest are going to get anything out of this game. They have been utterly dreadful recently. They've got 2 draws out of the last 6 games. Liverpool have had a bit of a bumpy ride. They've only won 3 out of the last 6, but it's Nottingham Forest. They are so poor at this point in the season, and they definitely want the international break to come soon so that they can regroup for January and try and get something out of this season, potentially trying to push themselves to survive, but I highly doubt it. They're bottom now by 2 points, 3 points off the drop zone, and it doesn't look like they're really going to pick up any points anytime soon, which brings us back to this game against Liverpool, whereby I don't think they're going to pick up any points whatsoever. I've gone for a 2-0 Liverpool win. I think it's going to be straightforward, reasonably. Darwin Núñez is starting to look good in front of goal, so the more game time he gets, the better he'll become. And I think that Liverpool are going to find it a bit easier to put the ball in the back of the net again. Everton versus Crystal Palace is a hard one to call today because I feel like they're reasonably close in the table, only 3 points dividing them, but Crystal Palace's current run of form is a lot better than Everton's. Everton have lost the last 3 games, whereas Crystal Palace, you're looking at a win-draw-win with only 1 loss in the last 6. So they're definitely an informed team right now. It's still a hard one to call. I feel like you've got Frank Lampard, who you could argue is holding on for his job right now. Everton got a lot to prove in the next couple of games following the sacking of Steven Gerrard. It shows that teams aren't afraid to get rid of their managers if they feel it's necessary. I'm going to go Crystal Palace. I'm still going to go Crystal Palace. I just feel like they're going to nick it. I've gone for a 1-0 win, and it could be the sign that Lampard's about to go. If this result does happen as Crystal Palace winning against Everton away from home, I see Everton thinking very carefully about who their manager should be. Talking about teams that are having a bad run of form, Brighton have lost 2 in the last 4 games and they've only won 1 in the last 6. After such a positive start to the season, they're slowly sinking down the Premier League table, and I don't see that changing today. Man City lost their last game, but have also won 4 out of the previous 5. So they are very much the team that are favourable in this match. How do I think it's going to end? Having watched Brighton this week in the midweek fixtures, they didn't look great. They have lost the structure that was brought to them by the previous manager, Potter, who's now obviously moved on to Chelsea. And I feel like they've definitely lost that little bit of leadership within the squad. So I can only see Man City winning this game. I've given Brighton a goal solely because I still think they've got players up top that can damage City at times. But I've gone for 5-1 to Man City. They've had a break. They've had time to refresh. They've had plenty of time on the training ground to sort out how they're going to approach this game, thanks to their game being postponed against Arsenal in the midweek fixtures. And I think they're going to come out very dominant. Arguably, fixture of the weekend now. Manchester United up against Chelsea. Chelsea have won 4 out of the last 5 games. United have only won 3 and drawn 1 and lost 1. So it's going to be a tight one. However, I am backing Manchester United for the first time in a long time in Premier League Predictor, because the game against Tottenham just gone showed how developed this United team is now under Erik ten Hag. And yes, I'm a United fan, but I'm usually a massive pessimist. I'm going to actually go for a 2-1 away win to Manchester United in this fixture. I think if they line up as they did against Spurs, play that dominating possession football where you're constantly on the verge of attacking the opposition and not giving them much room to breathe, I think they will be able to nick it against Chelsea. The only concern I do have is how strong Chelsea are in the midfield. And if those guys get going, we're going to have some issues at United. But I'm going to stay positive with Manchester United for the first time in a long time and go with that 2-1 win. That'll be the one that gets a reaction on the Shorts channel. Next up, we got Aston Villa versus Brentford. Now, Brentford have had a rocky run of it again since having a good start. Likewise to Brighton, really. They've lost 2 out of the last 6 games, won 2 and drawn 2. Very nice little pattern, having 2 of each. But hasn't really been what you want to see from Brentford of late. They're coming up against an Aston Villa side who have just sacked Steven Gerrard as of recording this. And I think that it was probably time for him to go. I think Gerrard still has a career in management. I don't think necessarily he was the sole reason for this Aston Villa team underperforming. But it was probably one loss too many. And I think that Villa, if they aren't careful, will end up getting relegated. So they had to make a change, and they had to make it now, really. So with that being said, where do I think this fixture is going to lie in this game week? I'm actually going for a 0-0 draw. I think that Brentford will be keen to get a point on the board, having not had a great run recently. And Villa, under new management, whether it be a temporary one or a full-time one, probably a temporary one, let's face it, will hopefully have a little bit of an uplift, and they're going to want to impress whoever's coming in next. So the likelihood is you'll probably see a performance from the Villa players, unfortunately, which is stupid, and I hate it when things like that happen. I've gone for 0-0, board draw of the week. I think that they're going to fight hard for this point against Brentford. Leeds are coming into this game against Fulham with 3 straight defeats, and Fulham got themselves a win in midweek. I'm actually still going to stick with Fulham. I think Fulham are playing pretty well at the moment. Mitrovic is causing all sorts of issues for Premier League defences, and is getting himself quite high up on that top goal scorer tally as well, which is interesting to see. You know, everyone said he could only do it in the Championship. Turns out that's not the case. Turns out he's fire on all cylinders in the Premier League as well now. I've gone with a 3-1 away win to Fulham. I think Leeds looked very poor this midweek fixture just gone. I had bought a lot of Leeds players into the side for my fantasy football, and they bitterly disappointed me. So I have a bit of a vendetta against Leeds this week, which is why I've given Fulham the away win. Likewise to Manchester City, Arsenal had a little bit of time off from the Premier League, but they did play in Europe. They did get themselves a win as well in midweek in the Europa League. So they're still, you know, ticking along and getting those results in. Mikel Arteta is having an absolute dream with Arsenal at the moment. They have won all but one of their last 6 fixtures. The one was against Manchester United, of course. And they're on a 4-game win streak. They're up against Southampton. Now, Southampton in the Premier League have lost 4 out of the last 6, but they did win their last fixture. I still don't think that's going to be enough to see off Arsenal. Arsenal are arguably the best team in the Premier League at this moment in time, alongside Manchester City, of course, who are always going to be in and around the top. But I am going with Arsenal. I'm going for a 3-0 away win. I think it'll be quite convincing. And having missed out on the midweek fixture in the Premier League this week, the boys will be biting at the bit to try and get back in there and convince the league that they are the top dogs. Next up, we have Leicester versus Wolves. Now, Leicester performed particularly well last night as of watching this, and they got themselves the win. Wolves are, you know, they're teetering. They're in the relegation zone currently, but I feel like the squad doesn't look as bad as maybe some teams that are above them, like Aston Villa, Leeds, Everton. I feel like Wolves will turn it around, as are Leicester at the moment. So in my head, I'm not seeing this as a relegation battle. I'm seeing this fixture as more of a sort of mid-table clash, because I think that's where these two teams will end up by the end of the season. You're looking between 11th and 14th for these two guys come May. So I'm going for a 2-2 draw. I think they're reasonably evenly matched size. The only thing that could sway this is that Leicester could build on the momentum of last night's fixture and go on to potentially get the win. But I think Wolves being at home, they should be able to grind out a draw 2-2. Spurs got shown that they can't just walk through fixtures in the Premier League by Manchester United, who convincingly beat them at the end of the day. I think Manchester United's probably best performance of the season so far, including some pretty big wins up against the likes of Arsenal. So for us to say that this week's fixture against Spurs was the best one they've done this season says a lot. Ronaldo obviously leaving early, getting himself in trouble, and currently having to train alone on a Friday morning is not a good sign. But I don't think that's going to be the headline going forward. I think he's already made his apology. That'll be moving forwards. Spurs from that fixture were a bit lackluster, really. Didn't have much going for them up top. Harry Kane had a few half chances, but they got shut out quite easily. And when a side fully attacks Tottenham, I don't think they're as strong as a game where they have the possession, are in control of the pace of the match. Newcastle are a team that love to take it to people, and they are very much in control of pretty much most fixtures they're playing at the moment. And very convincing against Man United the other week. And I think that is going to shine here, because I've gone for a Newcastle away win. 2-1 to Newcastle. Is an outside shout for this week, admittedly, but I think they're going to pip it. Tottenham didn't look great against United. Final fixture of the week is between West Ham and Bournemouth. They are currently neck and neck in the Premier League at the centre of the table. I believe this is on Monday night, some Monday night football. I think this is going to be even. I don't see much difference between these two sides at the moment. West Ham are still trying to find their feet in the Premier League. They've had a better run of it recently. They've won 2 out of the last 4 games, but they did lose their last fixture. Bournemouth had a much steadier run of it leading up to this fixture, having 5 games in a row before the last one where they didn't lose a game. So I think Bournemouth are probably more in form than West Ham are at the moment, but I think West Ham overall do have the better squad. They're just not gelling the way you'd expect them to. I've gone for a draw. I've gone for 1-1. I think that it'll be an even game. But for Monday Night Football, this fixture is probably not the most entertaining. So here are the Matt Ayres predictions for Game Week 13 in the Premier League. We've got Liverpool to win 2-0 away at Forest. We've got Everton to lose 1-0 to Crystal Palace. Man City to come back to the Premier League with a 5-1 win against Brighton. Chelsea to lose 2-1 at home to Manchester United. Aston Villa with no manager drawing 0-0 with Brentford. Leeds to lose 3-1 to Fulham. Southampton are going to lose 3-0 to Arsenal at home. Wolves and Leicester are going to draw 2-2. Spurs are going to lose to Newcastle 2-1. And West Ham and Bournemouth, the Monday night kickoff, is going to be a 1-1 draw. Remember, if you want to get involved, get your predictions in the comments right now before the Liverpool versus Forest game kicks off at 12:30 on Saturday, and you'll have a chance of getting to the top of our subscriber leaderboard come next week. For those of you that are still watching this late in the video, thank you very much. I've got actually a little bit of a question to ask you, which you'll be able to fill the comments with for me. I'm going to do a prediction series for the World Cup. Let me know how you think the scoring should work. Should we keep the same 1 point for a correct result, 5 points for a correct score? Or is there something else we could do with it? The World Cup's a little bit different, obviously, with group stages and all that sort of jazz. So let me know what you want to see from those videos, and I'll implement as many of your ideas as possible going forward. That's it for this video, however. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, hit a like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, with the notifications turned on, so that you don't miss the deadline for Premier League Predictor. And I'll see you in the next one.